The question materializes, heavy with decades of accumulated expectation, amplified by the very legend it invokes. It's a specter Robert Plant has encountered countless times, across continents and through the years. In a revealing 2022 interview, this specter manifests as the inevitable query about a Led Zeppelin reunion. Plant's response is visceral, immediate, and cuts to the core. "Oh, don't. Give me peace. Give me peace." This moment crystallized in the video Robert Plant on why he won't talk about Led Zeppelin anymore transcends mere rock star irritation. It's the culmination of a 40-year odyssey of artistic reinvention, profound personal processing, and a deliberate, often wearying, act of self-preservation. Understanding Plant's refusal requires delving into the intricate dance between an artist, his monumental past, the relentless machinery of nostalgia, and the non-negotiable drive for creative evolution. The shattering foundation, Zeppelin's end, and the casting of the long shadow. To comprehend Plant's present stance, we must begin with the seismic event that birthed it, the sudden, devastating death of John Bonham on September 25, 1980. Led Zeppelin was not merely a band. It was a cultural force, redefining rock's ambition, scale, and mystique. They existed in a realm of near-mythic invincibility, conquering stadiums, shattering records, and weaving an unparalleled tapestry of blues, folk, rock, and Eastern influences. Bonham's drumming was not just rhythm. It was the tectonic bedrock underpinning Jimmy Page's sonic architectures and Plant's shamanic vocals. His death was not simply the loss of a bandmate. It was the catastrophic implosion of the band's irreplaceable core, its very engine. The decision to disband was swift and absolute. We wish it to be known that the loss of our dear friend and the deep respect we have for his family, together with the sense of undivided harmony felt by ourselves and our manager, have led us to decide that we could not continue as we were. This statement was more than pragmatic. It was an act of profound respect and recognition of an irreparable rupture. For Plant, grieving a close friend, the loss was intensely personal and deeply traumatic. The entity that had been his life, his conduit to global superstardom, in a crucible of extraordinary experiences, vanished in an instant. The shadow it cast was immense, dark, and utterly inescapable. Forging a new path, Solo Beginnings and the Persistent Ghost, 1981-1990s. Plant did not retreat. He launched a solo career, yet the specter of Zeppelin remained an omnipresent companion. His early solo work, Pictures at 11, 1982, and The Principle of Moments, 1983, was consciously divergent, embracing synths, contemporary production, and exploring new wave and pop textures. While commercially successful, yielding hits like Big Log and In the Mood, it was invariably measured against the Zeppelin colossus. Critics and fans scanned for echoes of that iconic wail. Plant wasn't just running towards new sounds. He was actively running away from the suffocating comparisons. Frustration surfaced early. His quip about audiences demanding Stairway to Freebird perfectly captured the reductive expectations. Interviews became treacherous terrain. Any mention of Zeppelin threatened to derail discussion of his current endeavors. He described feeling like a golden retriever, endlessly fetching the same stick of nostalgia. The 1985 Live Aid reunion with Page and Jones, augmented by Phil Collins and Tony Thompson on drums, was a powerful spectacle, but for Plant, it was emotionally fraught and vocally taxing. It underscored both the immense pressure and the fundamental impossibility of recreating the lost magic. He later termed it nerve-wracking and emotionally layered. Throughout the late 80s and 90s, Plant actively pursued diverse avenues. The R&B infused rock of the Honeydrippers, the harder edge of his solo band, and crucially, his first deep immersion into world music and folk traditions, evident on albums like Now and Zen, 1988, and Fate of Nations, 1993. Tracks like Tall Cool One sampled Zeppelin riffs almost defiantly, yet the trajectory was unmistakable. Forward, sideways, anywhere but strictly backwards. Still, the questions persisted. "I'm still trying to run away from it," he admitted in 1988. The ghost wasn't merely external pressure. It was an internal benchmark he felt compelled to both acknowledge and transcend. Returning to the source, reclaiming roots and identity, 1990s to 2000s. The 1990s marked a pivotal shift towards artistic liberation. Collaborations with British folk icons Fairport Convention, deep dives into North African and Middle Eastern music with musicians from Morocco and Egypt, and immersion in traditional American roots weren't mere stylistic experiments. They were a fundamental reconnection with the very wellsprings that had inspired Led Zeppelin's eclecticism. Zeppelin had borrowed, amplified, and electrified blues, folk, and Eastern motifs. Now, Plant returned to the source, studying with humility, stripping away the volume and grandeur to find the raw, authentic essence. Projects like No Quarter, Unleaded, 1994, and Walking into Clarksdale, 1998, with Jimmy Page were significant precisely because they reimagined Zeppelin material within acoustic and world music frameworks. This was Zeppelin refracted through the prism of Plant's contemporary passions, not a note-for-note recreation. This period illuminated a crucial distinction. Plant wasn't rejecting Zeppelin's musical genius. He was rejecting the fossilized demand for its repetition. He demonstrated how those deep roots could flourish in entirely new directions. Yet, even these collaborations inevitably fanned the flames of reunion speculation, a cycle Plant increasingly sought to escape. The O2 Catalyst, Catharsis and the Birth of the Industry, 2007. The Ahmet Ertegun tribute concert at London's O2 Arena in 2007 stands as the definitive moment clarifying Plant's stance. The one-off reunion with Page, Jones, and Jason Bonham, John's son, honored their late mentor, Atlantic Records founder Ahmet Ertegun. Demand was stratospheric, millions vied for tickets, hype reached fever pitch, and the performance itself was hailed as a triumphant return. They sounded powerful, respectful, and remarkably vital. For fans, it offered cathartic closure. For Plant, the experience was profoundly complex and ultimately definitive. Emotional onslaught, revisiting the material, embodying the spirit of Bonham through his son, standing as Led Zeppelin, once more, it unleashed a torrent of deep grief and potent nostalgia. Vocal crucible, Plant, known for his vocal honesty, acknowledged the immense strain of delivering those iconic lines decades later. It was an achievement, but not one he desired to repeat. The weight of expectation, the colossal demand, global media frenzy, and sheer pressure of the event crystallized for Plant the vast, industrialized scale of the Zeppelin legacy. It was no longer just music. It was a global brand, a nostalgia leviathan, a definitive act. Many close to the band since Plant viewed O2 as a final, dignified farewell. He accomplished the seemingly impossible, a near-flawless Zeppelin performance decades after their end. Having conquered that peak under extreme duress, the prospect of a diminished repeat held no allure. He had paid his respects to the ghost and found completion. Critically, it was around this time Plant coined a phrase, the industry of Led Zeppelin. This was no throwaway line. It was a stark diagnosis. He recognized the legacy had morphed into a vast, self-perpetuating entity, encompassing reissues, merchandise, documentaries, tribute acts, relentless media conjecture, and fan fervor, operating largely independently of the surviving members' present artistic lives. Discussing Zeppelin wasn't reminiscence. It was feeding an insatiable machine. The creative renaissance, Americana, eclecticism, and the present, 2007 present. Significantly, Plant's most critically lauded and creatively fertile era blossomed after O2. His collaboration with bluegrass virtuoso Alison Krauss on Raising Sand, 2007, was transformative. Winning multiple Grammys, including Album of the Year, it unveiled a radically different Plant, nuanced, subtle, harmonically intricate, deeply rooted in Americana. Its triumph was defined by its distance from Zeppelin's thunder. He deepened this exploration with Band of Joy, 2010, mining folk, gospel, and country blues. Then emerged the sensational Space Shifters, a collective blending West African rhythms, electronica, and British folk rock sensibilities. Albums like Lullaby and The Ceaseless Roar, 2014, and Carry Fire, 2017, were adventurous, genre-defying, and resolutely contemporary. Plant wasn't resting. He was actively exploring, synthesizing ancient and modern, global and local. This ongoing renaissance is central to his reluctance to dwell on the past. Why would an artist experiencing such fertile creative renewal, garnering acclaim for new work, voluntarily retreat into the shadow of a 50-year-old legacy? Constant Zeppelin talk diminishes the significance of Raising Sand, the authenticity of Band of Joy, the innovation of the Space Shifters. It frames his entire being through a lens he consciously discarded decades prior. His present commands attention. Perpetual focus on the past implicitly denies that. Deconstructing Give Me Peace, layers of meaning. Returning to that 2022 plea, oh, don't. Give me peace. Give me peace. This is far deeper than annoyance. Emotional exhaustion. After 40-plus years, the emotional toll of constantly revisiting the Zeppelin era, intertwined with Bonham's death, immense pressure, and youthful extremes, is draining. He has processed, mourned, celebrated, and evolved. Forced reiteration is burdensome. Artistic relevance. To Plant, dwelling on Zeppelin feels disconnected from his current identity as an artist and individual. His creative fire burns in the present, with the Space Shifters or newer explorations, like the 2021 project with T-Bone Burnett. Zeppelin talk is a distraction, resisting the machine. He identifies the question as fuel for the industry of Led Zeppelin, perpetuating reunion rumors, endless repackaging, and focus on a closed chapter over living artists creating new work. His refusal is a conscious act of starvation, honoring through evolution. Plant acknowledges Zeppelin's power and importance. He disavows nothing. However, he believes the truest homage lies not in replication or constant discussion, but in embodying Zeppelin's core spirit, exploration, risk-taking, musical curiosity in his current endeavors. Stagnation betrays their legacy. The need for self, ultimately, perpetual definition by a past persona, however glorious, is suffocating. Plant's plea for peace is a demand for the space to exist as Robert Plant, the evolving 21st century artist, liberated from the gravity of Robert Plant, Led Zeppelin vocalist. Divergent paths, Plant, Page, and Jones, processing legacy. Plant stand in contrast to Jimmy Page and John Paul Jones. Page has embraced the role of chief archivist, meticulously curating reissues and exploring the vaults. He speaks more openly about the band's history and has shown greater willingness for reunions, while respecting Plant's position. Jones, the consummate versatile musician, has pursued eclectic projects, them crooked vultures, solo work, production, and generally appears less burdened, discussing the legacy pragmatically when required. This divergence is vital. It underscores that there is no single right way to navigate an epic past. Page's archival dedication is valid. Jones's pragmatic versatility is valid. Plant's imperative for distance and forward momentum is equally valid. It stems from his unique role as the voice, the frontman, the lyricist drawing from personal wells, and the one who bore the most visible weight of expectation after Bonham. His reinvention has been more radical and sustained. Their differing paths reflect individual personalities processing a shared, colossal history. The audience's grip, why we can't release the past. Plant's refusal compels us to examine the audience's role, the engine of the industry. Why is the demand for Zeppelin reunion talk so unyielding? Nostalgia's comfort. In turbulent times, the titanic, familiar power of Zeppelin offers solace and connection to perceived golden ages. The unfinished symphony. The band's abrupt end created a lingering sense of incompleteness. While O2 provided catharsis, the desire for more persists for many. The power of myth. Zeppelin exists in the realm of legend. The excess, the mystery, the sheer magnitude. Discussion keeps the myth potent. Cultural currency. Zeppelin fandom holds significant cultural weight. Participation in the reunion narrative reinforces fan identity. The masterpiece trap. When artists create work deemed timeless masterpieces, audiences often resist evolution, demanding repetition of the original formula. Innovation carries risk for the artist. Nostalgia offers safety for the audience. Plant's stance directly challenges this dynamic. He implores his audience to engage with him now, in his present artistic reality. Beyond the shadow, Plant's legacy of reinvention. Robert Plant's journey stands as one of rock's most successful and authentic acts of artistic reinvention. He neither faded nor became a self-parody. He confronted profound loss, processed the trauma of Bonham's death and the band's demise, defied the specter, actively forged an identity distinct from Zeppelin from the outset, embraced insatiable curiosity, relentlessly pursued new sounds, collaborators, and traditions, British folk, North African music, Americana, electronica, earned renewed acclaim, secured major awards, Grammys, for work fundamentally different from Zeppelin, maintained contemporary relevance, continues to release challenging, innovative music that engages with the modern world well into his 8th decade. Champion the new. Actively uses his platform to support emerging artists and diverse musical genres. His refusal to be shackled by Led Zeppelin is not ingratitude. It is the foundation of his enduring vitality. It proves the restless spirit that propelled Zeppelin to conquer sonic frontiers never expired. It simply discovered new worlds to explore. Plant's ultimate legacy extends far beyond being the voice of Led Zeppelin. It resides in the unwavering courage to forever seek the next song. When Robert Plant says, "Give me peace," he asks for more than quiet on a subject. He demands the oxygen to exist as the artist he has meticulously crafted over 4 decades. He seeks recognition that his current work, intricate, globally conscious, lyrically mature, sonically adventurous, merits attention on its own terms, not as an asterisk to "Whole Lotta Love" or "Since I've Been Loving You." He pleads for release from the exhausting labor of servicing the industry of Led Zeppelin. His stance is not a renunciation of the past's brilliance or impact. Led Zeppelin's music remains immortal, its influence immeasurable. Plant knows this. He was instrumental in its creation. But he understands that true artistry doesn't lie in preserving the past like a museum piece. It thrives in the ceaseless drive forward, in shedding old skins, embracing new sounds, and perpetually seeking the next uncharted musical horizon. To insist Plant keeps talking about Led Zeppelin is to demand he cease being Robert Plant. His plea for peace is a cry for the freedom to continue his extraordinary, ongoing journey, a journey that, in its fearless exploration, honors the pioneering spirit of Led Zeppelin more profoundly than any reunion spectacle ever could. The echo of Zeppelin endures, an eternal resonance in rock's annals. Robert Plant chooses not to linger within it. He moves forward, attuned to the next melody, the next rhythm, the next unexplored landscape, leaving the ghost to resonate where it belongs, in the timeless recordings and the hearts of listeners, while he writes the continuing, vibrant chapters of his own story. His silence on the past is the most resonant declaration of his commitment to the future.